What if I told you that just zero point 0.1 Bitcoin could still change your entire financial future in 2025? Not a full coin, not millions of dollars, just a fraction that seems small at first glance. And yet, that fraction might be the difference between being an observer on the sidelines and being an owner in the rarest monetary network ever created. Most people dismiss it because they think they need an entire Bitcoin. But in truth, the future won't ask how much you wanted. It will only ask how much you managed to secure. And by the time most of the world realizes that, the window will already be closed tight. Here's the part almost everyone overlooks when they hear about Bitcoin. It's not infinite. It's permanently locked at a maximum of 21 million coins, with no exceptions and no escape hatches. Now take those 21 million coins and split each into 10 slices. That gives us 210 million pieces of 0.1 BTC. At first, that number feels big, almost overwhelming. But here's where the perspective shifts. There are over 8 billion people alive on the planet right now. If every person tried to own just one slice of 0.1 BTC, it wouldn't even cover 3% of humanity. That means more than 97% of the world would be completely locked out from even a fraction. And the math gets tighter. Not all 21 million coins are truly available. Some are gone forever, lost to forgotten passwords, corrupted hard drives, or wallets that no one will ever recover. Estimates suggest that millions of Bitcoin are permanently out of circulation, meaning the real pie is much smaller than it looks. Now think about the 120 million millionaires around the globe. If each of them wanted just one full Bitcoin, there wouldn't be enough to satisfy even half. Even if they lowered their target to just 0.1 Bitcoin each, the supply would still fall short of meeting their collective demand. And that's before we even factor in the companies, funds, and governments now entering the game. The reality is simple but brutal. Scarcity isn't theoretical. It's coded into the system. So when you hold 0.1 Bitcoin, you're not holding just a fraction. You're holding a digital seat in the rarest financial arena humanity has ever seen. And every day you wait, the competition for those seats grows sharper, while the number of available slices grows smaller. Here's where most people make their biggest mistake with Bitcoin. They look at the price. $60,000, $70,000, maybe even higher, and instantly think, I could never afford even one full coin. That thought alone makes them walk away before they ever understand the opportunity. But here's the truth. You don't need an entire Bitcoin to change your future. And you don't need to buy it all in one big risky move either. That's where dollar cost averaging, or DCA, comes into play. It's a strategy as simple as it is powerful. Instead of trying to time the market perfectly, you spread your purchases consistently over time. Maybe it's $20 a week, maybe $50, maybe $200 a month. The exact number matters less than the discipline to keep going, week after week, month after month. When the price dips lower, your dollars automatically buy more Satoshis, the tiny units that make up each Bitcoin. When the price rises higher, you buy fewer Satoshis, but you still keep stacking. Over the months and years, your average cost balances out into something sustainable and surprisingly efficient. And here's what most traders will never admit. With DCA, you don't need luck. You don't need to be a genius at predicting the future. You simply need patience, consistency, and the courage to stay in the game long enough to let the math work for you. Let's run a simple example. If someone invests just $100 a week for 5 straight years, they could already stack close to 0.1 Bitcoin. Not by gambling on risky trades, not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by slowly, quietly, building ownership of one of the scarcest assets on Earth. That's why 0.1 Bitcoin still matters in 2025, because the story isn't about whales or billionaires cornering the market. It's about ordinary people using discipline to carve out a seat for themselves in a financial system designed around scarcity. DCA doesn't just make Bitcoin affordable, it makes Bitcoin achievable. And in a race where seats are disappearing faster every year, the people who start small and start early are the ones who will look back with gratitude, not regret. Before we move on to how scarcity and time make Bitcoin even more rare, if this breakdown is helping you see things more clearly, hit the like button. It helps this channel reach more people, and it shows YouTube this is content worth sharing with a bigger audience. Thanks for the support. Let's keep going. Time is not neutral when it comes to Bitcoin. Every single day that passes, the supply available to new buyers gets tighter and harder to reach. On paper, there will only ever be 21 million coins. But in practice, the real number is far smaller and shrinking constantly. Research suggests that up to 30% of all Bitcoin mined is already lost forever. Not sold, not hidden, simply gone. We're talking about old hard drives tossed into landfills, passwords scribbled on papers that vanished, wallets locked forever behind forgotten keys. That means millions of Bitcoin have disappeared from circulation, never to be recovered. Instead of 21 million, the world is realistically dealing with maybe 14 to 16 million coins, at most. And out of those coins still alive, most are not floating freely on exchanges. They're in cold storage, held by long-term believers who treat Bitcoin as digital property. Once they secure a piece, they're not interested in letting it go. Not for any price, not for any offer. At the same time, the supply of new Bitcoin entering the market keeps shrinking. Every 4 years, the network cuts the rewards for miners in half, a programmed event called the halving. What used to be 50 coins per block is now just a fraction of that. By 2032, the inflow of new Bitcoin will be so tiny it will barely exist. So think about what that means. You're not just competing against other buyers anymore. You're competing against time itself. Each day, more coins are lost to accidents. Each cycle, fewer coins enter circulation. Each year, more people, funds, and institutions arrive to claim their slice. Scarcity is not a story about someday. It's happening right now, block by block, halving by halving, lost wallet by lost wallet. And the people who wait on the sidelines are not just missing price opportunities. They're missing the actual chance to secure supply. This is why 0.1 Bitcoin matters so much in 2025, because waiting doesn't only make it more expensive, it makes it harder to even find. The clock is always ticking, and the seats are being filled, whether you notice it or not. In the early days, Bitcoin was dismissed as internet money. It was a toy for tech enthusiasts, libertarians, and risk-takers who were willing to experiment with something unproven. Most of the financial world ignored it, laughed at it, or called it a passing fad. But look at 2025. The game is completely different now. The biggest financial giants on Earth have entered the arena. BlackRock, Fidelity, Vanguard, and others are no longer watching from the sidelines. They're creating Bitcoin ETFs, financial products that allow billions of dollars to flow into the network with just a few clicks. What once took effort and technical knowledge is now packaged for Wall Street and Main Street investors alike. And the inflows are massive. We're not talking about a few individuals stacking $50 at a time. We're talking about pension funds, insurance companies, and corporate treasuries deploying billions of dollars into Bitcoin as part of their long-term strategies. But the story doesn't end with private companies. Governments themselves are starting to notice. Some countries are actively mining Bitcoin to secure a slice of future digital reserves. Others are quietly adding it to their balance sheets, preparing for a world where digital scarcity matters as much as oil or gold. And many simply refuse to sell the Bitcoin they already hold, treating it like a strategic resource too valuable to let go. Why is this happening? Because the world has already seen what happens when traditional reserves can be frozen or seized. In 2022, when global powers froze over $300 billion in Russian assets, the illusion of neutral money was shattered forever. Every government, every central bank realized the same hard truth. If your wealth can be confiscated, it isn't really yours. And that's where Bitcoin changes the rules. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't follow orders. It can't be seized by foreign powers or blocked by sanctions. It's borderless, incorruptible, and secured by code instead of politics. Now, go back to the math. There are only 210 million slices of 0.1 BTC. When institutions and governments start competing for those seats, the space left for individuals shrinks dramatically. Every slice taken by a pension fund or a sovereign reserve is one fewer available to ordinary people. This is the new reality of 2025. When you hold 0.1 Bitcoin today, you're not just ahead of casual investors. You're ahead of trillion-dollar funds, multinational banks, and even nation-states, all of them racing to secure a piece of a system that will never expand its supply. To really understand why zero point 0.1 Bitcoin still matters in 2025, you have to compare it with the money you already use every single day. Dollars, euros, yen, pesos. At first glance, they look solid, trustworthy, and reliable, but all of them share the same hidden design flaw. They are built to lose value over time. And this isn't an accident of economics. It's the official policy of every central bank in the world. In the United States, for example, the Federal Reserve targets around 2% inflation every year. That means your dollars are designed to shrink in value year after year for the rest of your life. And in practice, it's often worse than the target. Groceries go up faster, housing goes up faster, healthcare goes up faster. You work harder each year, but the money you bring home buys less and less. Look back just 50 years. The US dollar has already lost over 85% of its purchasing power. Think about that for a second. If your grandparents saved $1 in the 1970s, it buys less than 15 cents worth of goods today. That's not bad luck. That's the system working exactly as designed. And it's not just the dollar. The Argentine peso, the Venezuelan bolivar, the Turkish lira, all have collapsed under the same pressure. Not because people stopped working, but because their governments kept printing money they didn't really have. Every new dollar created makes the ones in your pocket worth less. It's like trying to fill a bucket full of holes. No matter how much water you pour in, it drains away faster than you can replace it. Bitcoin flips this entire system upside down. It doesn't inflate. It doesn't borrow. It doesn't answer to a central authority that can change the rules whenever it wants. Its supply is permanently fixed at 21 million coins. No more, no less. It's scarcity you can count on, enforced by code instead of politics. Fiat money is like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. No matter how fast you run, you never move forward. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is like stepping into a sealed vault. Once you store value inside, it doesn't leak away from inflation. It holds. And here's the key takeaway. When you hold 0.1 Bitcoin, you're not just saving money. You're protecting yourself from a system designed to quietly drain your wealth over decades. It's not just an asset. It's a shield against the erosion of everything you work for. By now, 0.1 Bitcoin might still look like a small amount to most people, a decimal on a screen, a fraction of a coin, something too tiny to matter. But here's the truth almost everyone misses. In a closed system with fixed supply, even fractions become powerful. Scarcity doesn't care how much you wish you owned. It only cares about what you actually managed to secure before the window closed. Think of Bitcoin like digital land. You don't need to buy the entire map to change your future. You just need one small plot before the rush is over. And once the land is spoken for, that little plot could feel like beachfront property bought back when nobody believed the ocean mattered. That's exactly what 0.1 BTC represents in 2025. Not instant riches, not a lottery ticket, but a permanent seat at a table where most of the world will never even get a chance to sit down. The future doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards preparation. The people who act now, stacking small amounts, using DCA, staying consistent through the noise, will one day look back and realize that even fractions made the difference between watching history and owning a piece of it. Ask yourself this. In 10 years, will you regret owning too little? Or will you regret never owning any at all? Because one day soon, ownership won't be a choice you make. It will be a privilege reserved for those who moved early enough to secure it. So the real question isn't, is it worth it to own 0.1 Bitcoin? The real question is, how long can you afford to wait before you're locked out completely? Because once the music stops, there are no extra seats, no new supply, no bailout round. Just scarcity, coded and permanent. And the people already seated, they're not getting up. If this video helped shift your perspective, like and subscribe for more stories that reveal how money really works. And drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you feel secure owning even a fraction of Bitcoin? Or will you wait until it's too late? Remember, every Satoshi you stack today might be the thin line that separates the late from the early. And if you want to go deeper, don't stop here. Click on one of the videos on your screen right now. Each one will take you further into the strategies, history, and mindset shifts that can change the way you build wealth forever.